The scriptures are amazing, and although they're unparalleled in many ways, when you look at the way things fit together from the Old to the New Testament, where you would say the Old Testament prepares the categories for understanding Jesus. There's an awful lot of archaeological evidence which supports that the Old and New Testaments fit in real history. There is a lot of moral insight on the world. When you look at the Old Testament, it is rather negative about the people group from which it originates in terms of their moral character, and yet incredibly positive about their place in history. When you get to the New Testament, you find a very similar pattern where the leading Christians, or the people who come to lead the early Christians, do lots of wrong things, and yet they have a tremendous place in history. Now, if you were writing propaganda, you probably wouldn't write it like that. Ancient royal propaganda tells you how wonderful the kings are. When you look at the Old Testament, it's not telling you that. It's telling you, how bad they were. So it really is quite different from other things you read about. You can look at any ancient history. There's nothing that gives you the whole sweep that you get within the Bible of history, and which has the same insight into human character. You see, the Bible doesn't whitewash human sin. It records it in great detail, and why people do things wrong, and it shows you a number of ways in which sin cannot be solved. God makes the world perfectly. People sin. He wipes most of them out in a flood. That doesn't get rid of sin. He confuses a language. That doesn't get rid of sin. He chooses an individual, Abraham, and privileges him. That doesn't get rid of sin. He privileges a whole nation, gives them great laws. That doesn't get rid of sin, brings them into a land, gives them prophets, kings, everything, doesn't get rid of sin. And what you see is these are ways in which the Bible is preparing your categories of your mind for Jesus to come along, and Jesus makes sense of it all. So I'd want to make my argument about the reliability of Scripture and it coming from God as about Scripture and Jesus together. And I don't want to separate Scripture and Jesus. We know of Jesus through Scripture, and Jesus is the person I don't think you could make up who makes sense of it all.